Without a doubt, the biggest concern in the comment section is cruelty and the ethical tension
of eating eggs. You are taking a life by eating one of these. This is the argument.
Okay, so I'm glad that he at least acknowledges the fact that there is cruelty, there are ethical concerns when it comes to eating eggs. Let's see what he says.
I would like to educate you on the concept of fertilized versus unfertilized eggs. If my mother at the age of 83, who's been a vegetarian all her life, has been able to understand this and eats eggs, I have confidence that you can too, or maybe your parents or grandparents can as well.
It's really unfortunate that his mother is 83 years, and for 83 years he's been living without eating eggs and without being cruel to hens, and he's managed to convince his 83-year-old mother to start eating eggs. A lot of people use this logic that ethical concern in eating eggs is because there is life in that egg which is developing, and by eating that egg you're preventing that life from being born. But the bigger question is, when you say that by eating an egg you're taking a life, you're not taking the life that's inside that egg. You're taking the life of the mother that laid that egg in the egg industry. There are two paths. So one is place where the hen is kept to lay those eggs. Now, of course, those eggs are unfertilized, but there is also something called a hatchery. It's an incubated space, and all they do is give birth to chicks in that facility. The females are then sent to these places where they're forced to lay eggs for 2.5 years before they're killed. All the eggs in a hatchery are fertilized eggs, and that's where the mother came from. While the mother came to this facility from that particular egg, there were other eggs that hatched with male chicks as well. So what happens to these male chicks? That all these male chicks, because they're completely unproductive and unutilizable for the egg industry, they're put on a conveyor belt and they're ground to death, and then they're either fed back to the mothers or they're utilized for pet food sometimes they're used for fish meal.
The eggs that we buy in the market are unfertilized. What does that mean? Let's take a look.
Unfertilized eggs have these conditions. Number one, there is no male rooster present. When you look at the yolk, it's a pale disc because there is no male DNA, no mating has happened, there is no life in this egg. This is just albumin, the white and the yolk. There is no embryo inside because of these conditions. Then you have fertilized eggs. A male rooster must be present. There is a germinal disc which you can see here. There is going to be life and an embryo will develop because the male DNA has combined with the female DNA. This is fertilized. This is what we buy in the market. How do we know? Because hen farms do not have roosters. There is no mating. This is the science.
So he's clearly saying over here that these units where hens are kept, they have no roosters. So which means that these hens are not allowed to mate naturally. They're kept in these small enclosures where they don't have access to several things that they love enjoying. They love interacting with each other. They love walking around. Hens love pecking. They love digging the soil. They love dust bathing. They love grooming themselves. When they want to lay an egg, they go to a dark space. They build a nest and they lay their eggs over there. In these units, where thousands and thousands of hens are kept in these tiny cages, all they have is like an A4 size sheet. They don't even have space to turn around, and they get so frustrated that actually they end up pecking each other and hurting each other, pulling out their feathers. And in order to not let this happen, people take a hot rod and they shave off their beaks. So if you look at any hen in a battery cage, you'll find that their top beaks are shaven off, just so that when they get frustrated out of the sheer agony of having to live in a tiny space with no other options, pooping over each other, sitting in the same space, and out of frustration when they try to peck each other, they should not hurt each other. That's the whole purpose. And the second thing is, when he talks about a fertilized egg, the question that you need to then ask is, how did the mother come into existence? The mother came into existence because they were born in a hatchery where there were fertilized eggs, and half of these fertilized eggs were hatched with male chicks, and all those male chicks were killed on day one. When you buy an egg, you're supporting these hatcheries that are killing off billions and billions of male chicks every day. Every time you buy an egg, you're actually grinding them in a mixer. So male chicks are killed on day one, and the female chicks are then put in prisons, which are battery cages. They would put about 6 or 8 of them in one small cage, and they spend their entire lives over there, 2.5 years, after which they're not able to produce eggs anymore, at which point they're all removed. They're all either buried alive or gassed to death, and that's how you get your sunny side up and your omelette.
Okay, but please don't think eggs that you buy in the market have life. That's point one. Point two, which is very valid, is cruelty to hens. You can buy cage-free eggs, which means those hens in a farm are not confined in cages. You can buy pasture-raised eggs. These are eggs from farms where the hen can roam in a pasture. They are not even enclosed in a smaller area.
Okay, so first of all, these are all greenwashing terms. When you talk about cage-free or free range, a lot of times it just means that the square unit area per hen is slightly more. So they may remove the smaller cages, but at the end of the day, it's still an extremely crowded area where the hens don't get to roam around freely as we imagine it to be. We think it's cage-free, it means there are no cages, but it's like all of them are stuffed inside a single large room. These labeling terms are not very strictly governed. So a lot of times you'll find things like organic eggs. What are organic eggs? We don't know. There's no definition of what an organic egg is. Pasture raised could just mean that hens were not kept on concrete grounds, but the flooring was made of soil. So a lot of times, the packaging may show you like a hen that is roaming around freely in open farms, but a lot of times, unless those eggs are super expensive, which in most cases they're not, it is unrealistic to expect that, these hens had anything more than a closed room without cages. Cage-free does not mean cruelty-free. Free range does not again mean cruelty-free. Male chicks are still killed in hatcheries. These hens are still culled after 2.5 years. Birds lay up to 25 to 30 eggs. What we've done is, over the years, historically, trait selected. So instead of 25, now they give 300 plus eggs, which basically means that they're ovulating every day. They're laying eggs every day, which means that every day there are minerals, there's protein, and there's calcium that's being drawn from their bodies, that their bones start breaking of osteoporosis. Because all the calcium gets sucked out of their bones. And until the point when they can't lay eggs anymore. And when this happens, they're actually removed from these cages forcefully. They're made to stand on these perches, which is very hurtful, because birds love perching on wooden sticks and they don't have access to all of this. When they remove them, their claws are kind of entwined with these cages. Sometimes they just have to cut their legs off to remove them because they don't have the time to kind of disentangle the claws. And then they bury them alive or they're gassed to death.
Egg that you buy from the market, and if you want, you can buy cage-free or pasture-raised eggs. That solves the ethical tension and any cruelty that may come to your mind.
Cage-free, pasture-free does not end the ethical tension. Cage-free and pasture-free give a slightly better life to these hens, but the cruelty starts with the genetic programming or the trait selection. There's something called forced molting because at some point these hens stop laying eggs for a small period of time, but that's a loss to business. Now people have discovered that if you stop feeding them for 2-3 days, then they start laying eggs again. So they're starved for 2-3 days just so that the egg production can go up. If you want a summary of all of this, you can visit our profile on the Aloha Ahimsa Foundation page, and it is one of the pinned videos.